Hey guys, this is Gatsby with Tape, and today you join me for episode 9 of Kerbal Wars, and we've received a rather disturbing signal from around Duna. It seems we have a station in our midst, and we can tell that it's called D Station 1 from our long-range trackers, or something like that. But yeah, it seems like this may be a rebel ship, and that means they must have received some of the funding we were talking about, which is very worrying. We have managed to receive this long-range image. It doesn't make out much, but we can zoom in and it looks like there's some small station and some ships attached to it. So that's pretty worrying. So, I'm launching a new carrier, and this is just a series of images of me launching it because basically the launch was about 1 frame a second. No, it was more like 3 frames a second, but if I recorded it, it dropped even lower. First, it started off fine at about 10 frames a second, but in the upper atmosphere, for some reason, it dropped to like 3 frames a second, so I'm sorry I didn't record that, but it was only just about possible if I didn't record it. But yeah, there were some random images. Thanks for whatever. So yeah, this is the carrier. It's a brand new carrier. It's not as pretty as Odin, I think, but it's much more functional and a little smaller. You can see this giant launch frame on the back. This is like an exoskeleton I built so that it would be stable during launch. It also has an internal skeleton because it needed that to be stable during launch and will be more stable during battle. Because yes, this is a battle carrier, and when we decouple that, you can see how these parts work. They were just a couple of bits of metal that kept it all stable, and it launched very well actually. Compared to the other one I was trying to launch, it worked pretty freaking well. There's lots of bits around which I'd like to get rid of, so I'll probably quick save and quick load at some point. But yeah, this is my new carrier. It's called Draco. Well, it is a Draco class carrier. I haven't got a name for it yet, but it's a prototype. But yeah, this is basically my solution for what appears to be a Duna problem, because if the rebels out there, they're probably being funded, and that's probably getting them funding by protecting Duna, so we should take them out so that we have the advantage, because we don't want them, well, getting even more powerful. So yeah, let's take a quick look around this. There's no big door on the front this time, because that is a bit of a tactical vulnerability. So I will give you a little bit of a guide around the carrier with our co-pilot, or I guess our first officer. Yeah, it's quite different because it's not like the whole same shape the whole way around. The hangar's like this really distinct module at the front, and the drive section's that big, thicker module at the back. But yeah, it is a bit of a small carrier, but the doors are on the bottom, so it's harder to get missiles in there. As you can see, it would be pretty hard to slip a missile in there. Well, you could, I guess, if you really tried. But yeah, there's a bit of a corridor to get in, and then a massively illuminated hangar. And you can see this metal frame will mean it's more robust, because that means it's supported on a metal frame instead of just wing surfaces. And as you go through this corridor, there are a few horrible seams, actually, from the wing surfaces, but it is a much more complicated carrier, so yeah. But yeah, back through this corridor is the crew quarters and some xenon supplies, and then up here is the vehicle hangar. So yeah, I quite like the idea of this carrier. It's much smaller than the one I ideally had in mind, but it is pretty hardy, and it is much more safe, even though it is a little bit ugly. But I thought because it's a battle carrier, I'm sure it'll be fine. But yeah, the seams are a bit obvious, especially at the front, but we'll skip over that because it did take a while, not because I didn't want you to see the front. It's just a bit, I don't know, stitched together, and you can see the drive section and the hangar are a bit seamy when they're all kind of just thrown together. But yeah, I think this could be a good solution for our Duna problem. I will be assembling a proper fleet to go out there and make sure that they can't start, tycooning off all of Duna's resources, because that would provide them with a pretty big advantage if they can get lots of ships, although it did look like they had some ships out there that looked, well, I don't know if they're good, but still, could be worrying. So yeah, this is probably gonna need some fighters, really, isn't it? I'm only gonna bring up 2 this time, actually, because lag is horrible, and I'm already getting pretty bad lag, but I think maybe it can manage 2 fighters. Now, this launch went much better. There was much less lag. It's because that other one with its launch vehicle and exoskeleton and everything was like 500 parts, and for some reason there's like this new, I don't know, I think they've implemented re-entry heating differently, and now when you get up into the upper atmosphere, there's a huge frame rate drop. And when you're getting about 10 frames a second, which is just about flyable, and then it drops to 3, it's pretty impossible. So That was pretty horrible to launch. I don't know what they're doing over at Squad, but they're doing it wrong, is the only thing I can say. It seemed to... I think it's just the most recent update. I think they tweaked the re-entry thing. I guess, in fairness, they probably never checked it with Odin fucking Carrier, but still, it's... I don't know, I've never had that sort of problem before, so, yeah, that's a bit of a just... kind of, I don't know, it's just not great. But yeah, you can see this is starting to burn up a little because I'm going reasonably flat. Because, well, I want to be efficient and on fire because that's what I like. So yeah, let's just push ourselves into orbit, and yeah, just kind of, well, go and dock with the carrier. This will be a horrible frame rate bit because I'm adding about 100 more parts to it. I'm thinking of maybe getting the part welding thing. I'm not going to part weld everything in the carrier because that makes the armor completely not functional if it's just one plate. But maybe some of the non-essential bits and maybe some of the structural parts on the fighters. I do intend for, you know, no mods because that's kind of well, it's just kind of a project to see what you can do without mods in this sort of thing, and a bit of an ode to a returning YouTuber, actually, because, well, one of my big inspirations for KSP and YouTube and stuff, so I thought I'd do this, and then a week later he was like, oh yeah, I'm coming back. Yeah, so that's that, though I'm pretty crazy happy about that. But anyway, let's get ourselves into a trajectory onto the carrier. I've forgotten how I did this. I know I'll do a really good one later. Oh yeah, I was trying to just burn to slow myself down there, but I didn't really plan it. So yeah, now I'm just planned it, and that'll get me close to the carrier, which will be nice. Yeah, I have managed to remove a few parts from this. You'll notice, if you look very carefully, the missiles don't have decouplers anymore. That's because I set the action groups on the fighters' docking ports to decouple, so they'll stay like that forever, so that I can have missiles that can be decoupled with action groups, so that's minus a part, which is good. I also took off a couple of non-necessary thrusters, because I'm just trying to keep parts down. So yeah, I might do just a bit of part welding. Nothing that like compromises how good or effective or bad a carrier is, but or a ship of some kind, but obviously it would make it a little better. And maybe I'll just throw some textures down with big ships. I'm sure there's a lot of things I can do, but yeah, it's just a little crazy. So yeah, no, I think was it? Oh no, not too much lag now. Oh, you can see the lag already is pretty horrendous. Although this is much worse than it already was because I've been playing for a while and it seems to get progressively worse. And I think I may have been... One thing I did notice is watching 60 frames a second video on YouTube really slows down KSP. It also slows down my render times. I really hate that because I don't care about watching videos in 60 frames a second. It doesn't add anything. Like, I understand it in games. It's really nice to have 60 frames a second, even though I don't think you necessarily need it all the time in a game like Arkham Knight, for example. But it is nice to have that. But in a video, it's just like... great, it's not really that different. It's a video, 30 frames a second is fine, and now this is like fucking my computer. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just my computer being a little bitch, but still, it does slow down everyone's render times. I mean, it has to. But anyway, I skipped through all that, and you're watching this slightly sped up because the frame rate was pretty bad. It was just about manageable, but it was, you know, frustrating level of frame rate sort of thing. But yeah, so I sped this up. You can still see it's pretty bad frames a second. I think the highest frames a second I got in this entire episode was about 20, and that was nothing to do with the carrier. That's fine. I'm used to it in KSP, and I don't expect like insane performance because obviously it's like a physics-based game, and the thing I'm doing right now is just basically building the biggest things possible, so that's not like a comment on the game. The upper atmosphere physics are a comment on the game. I'm still a little miffed by that because it really screwed me, but I'll get over it. I'm sure they'll, I don't know, maybe fix it at some point, or maybe most people won't have a problem. Maybe it's just often I have surprisingly bespoke problems with my computer, so maybe it's just me. So yeah, hopefully it'll get better though, because you know it's just one of those things that would be nice to be optimized. There are a few little things I've noticed in KSP 1.0 that just kind of, I don't know, take away some. It just seems like 0.90 was a little more stable. Maybe that's because they've added a bunch of stuff, and they are doing updates all the time. But still, anyway, I'll stop talking about the game so much. But yeah, it's just things you notice, and when you do recording for hours, it's a bit a bit cloying and testing. But anyway, let's throw this in the... I'm sorry, I'm taking away all the finesse of the story with my own complaints. Not that there's a story going on right now. The story is whoever that Kerbal is. I can't read it on a post-production screen. Yeah, I just need to throw these missiles into the hangar. Well, not throw them. Just let them off very gently. And you'll notice these missiles have those Rockomax engines on it. It's because I decided those kind of like little torpedoes needed more of a kick. And I decided to give them more of a kick with these Rockomax engines. I think those will, you know, make them a little speedier because we need some deadly missiles for doing it. So yeah, these are kind of like strike variants of these vehicles. And let's just throw this... Oh, drifting a bit. But yeah, this was worse at lower frames a second. I think this is at twice times speed or something. I was somewhere thereabouts. I wasn't super accurate. So yeah, we'll stow these missiles. I've only brought 4 missiles each. You can see this one has 6 because it's carrying all the missiles except the ones in the loadout on the other Scorpion. So yeah, I didn't bring too many missiles just because... well, parts are a pretty big problem for me, and because this carrier will not be doing most of the battling. This is to establish a base of operations in orbit around Duna, and it just happens to need some fighters, just in case something tries to, well, take us out. So we'll be ready to retaliate with the deadly force. And then I'll be sending some other ships, some bigger ships with hopefully less parts, something much bigger than Illustrious, the Corvette, probably a frigate or a dreadnought or something like that. I don't know ship classes well enough to call it that, but maybe I'll do some research. Like, I figured out Illustrious is a Corvette based on its mass and the fact that we're in a 10 times smaller universe. So yeah, that is a Corvette, and I'll probably design, I don't know, something deadly and some sort of battle cruiser. So yeah, let's just throw this in its berthing and fetch the other fighter. The reason the frame rate is so bad right now is because the other fighter has drifted into our midst, along with the transfer stage, which is a few more parts. Oh, how do I have a cold? It's freaking summer. But yeah, oh, and that's that docking there. Oh no, I thought it was. I thought I'd skip through all the thing, but I did skip through all the maneuvers, and the I think the transfer stage is floating away right now. But yeah, it's sped up. It doesn't look that bad. But yeah, I might just turn some textures down for ships like this, or obviously, you know, a bit of part welding. Like, I could probably, I don't know, just weld a few bits, like weld the corridors. But obviously, if it's like an armor surface, you want it to be lots of little parts, because then if a missile hits it, it'll just ping off like one plate, and that's what makes it effective. Or it would make it ultimately completely invincible and not a very fun series. So, you know, but maybe I could like weld missiles. There's some structural parts in these fighters I could probably weld together that wouldn't really... make it a more or less effective fighter. So I'm just thinking of things like that, just so it kind of remains fun for me, and remains, well, in both ways, because obviously more frames per second are more fun, and more destruction is more fun. So yeah, I'm still, you know, really happy with doing this series. It's just I'm thinking of some optimizations, yeah, with just maybe a few little mods, as opposed to everyone's suggestion to get BD Armory, although that would not really work in this series. But anyway, we've got them all docked, and now let's just put them in, throw them in their berthings. Not in their berthings, in their crew quarters through the corridor. I'm not going to fly them through there, mainly because they can't get out at this point, which is fine because they can transfer. But if the hangar was detached from the service module of the ship, then it would be a bit of a problem because they wouldn't be able to get out and fight in a battle situation. So maybe I'll have to move them around or something. But yeah, I think this will be effective at Duna. It's much more capable of battling than the than Odin carrier, I think. And it is actually less parts, because this is actually slightly better lag, slightly less lag than I had with Odin. But yeah, and it has 8 engines instead of 6, so it'll be able to do burns far more quickly. But anyway, here's a launch I did manage to actually include. Oh no, I included the last launch as well, so I've included 2 launches. But yeah, this is a new part to my battle station. I wanted to launch the hangars today, but there's actually a little module in between the hangar and the core, which is what I'm launching today on a reasonably effective rocket. This is like a fairly small 30-ton lifter, I think, which I developed back in the days of solar civilization. It's pretty effective, and the lag wasn't even a bit bad on this. It was nice. I could just well, play it actual frames a second, which is a nice bit of a bit of a change after flying one of those carriers. But yeah, it turns out I'm burning all the fuel out of this as well, which is good because I didn't bring enough fuel otherwise. So I'm giving it all the fuel I can give it. And I've launched it just above the station, which I really need to change to a station symbol. I've launched it just above the station so that I can drop in on it basically, because I was ahead of it, but now I've slowed down enough to be level with it. So I will just probably do one orbit and align myself with it on the other side. As you can see with the pink markers, I get pretty close, 5 kilometers off launch. It is actually reasonably easy to do that. Usually I just wait till the target's over the desert peninsula on the west. I think it's the west. Yeah, the west of the KSC, and then just basically launch, and I usually get there. But yeah, let's just move in. I did cut out a bunch of stuff because it was just maneuvering in as per usual. I can just see there's a little bit of footage I haven't put in place properly. Okay, I can't move the footage. Okay, shit. 1 second. I totally didn't stop to edit. There's some sort of footage at the end I didn't actually move into the clip properly. So yeah, let's just get this all docked up and then detach that probe, and then we'll be bringing in some hangars for the fighters, because this is a battle station. I don't have just fighters hanging around like certain other organizations from the low resolution photos we've seen. We have hangars to defend our fighters. So yeah, I'm having trouble moving this in. I hate docking with these big ports because they're not quite so magnetic as the other ones. But yeah, this is basically just some basic supplies. There's a bit of fuel, some obviously lots of RCS, and pretty much all the xenon I'll ever need. But I'll probably bring in a proper fuel module at some point. But the station's not going to be massive. I don't want this to be too laggy, because everything I built at this point seems to just be ridiculously laggy. But one thing I do need to do, now the fighter has some more fuel, is put the station into a proper orbit, because it's not circular, and I like circular orbits. So I'm just going to burn with the fighter's engine and get that up to 150 on both sides, or roughly circular. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not one of those people who goes for perfect orbits all the time, because it doesn't really make a difference. I don't think anything on Earth is in a perfect orbit. Maybe geosynchronous satellites, but other things are in reasonably estimated orbits, because, well, obviously you can't know exactly where you are. Well, you can, but they don't. I don't know. I don't think, well, within a few meters, I think most stuff orbits kind of slightly uncircularly. But anyway, that looks like we're in a pretty good orbit now. I know I haven't done a massive amount in this episode, but getting that carrier ready was most of my week. So, yeah, that's been actually pretty fun until the upper atmosphere, where the lag was just crushing. But it's fine. So I hope you have enjoyed this. I hope you'll join me for future episodes where there will be many a battle and many a hopefully not losing that carrier. But yeah, until then, this has been KSP with Tape. I will see you next time. We'll be right back.